Welcome to the Attractions Group podcast. This is episode 110. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig. Don, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Ryan. I'm at that point with how it's gone for me for the last month, where I guess it's better to be seen than viewed, but doing okay.
Yeah. So before we continue, we have some rather shocking news. I mean, this is a few days old, but still. Make sure you follow us on all your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Google, Spotify, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on X at attractions_GRP. Don, what's going on?
Well, Ryan, Cedar Point, known as the roller coaster capital of the world, is adding another record-breaking attraction to its famed collection of Scream machines. The Sandusky Amusement Park, they announced Siren's Curse. It'll be the tallest, fastest, and longest tilt roller coaster in North America. It's slated to debut summer of 2025. Now, we had this as a pick six last week as one of the speculation of what it might be. I was thinking water park, water coaster, something like that. But I think we both woke up Thursday morning very surprised.
Yeah, I kept on having to reread it because I was like, am I still asleep? Because we were pretty sure Cedar Point Shores was getting something, and I'm not entirely convinced that wasn't the plan at first. But the ride,
I think it was the plan, and it changed.
Yeah, so the ride was originally planned for Energylandia theme park in southern Poland. However, the government pulled their funding from the park, crushing the deal. Vekoma, the manufacturer, then sold it to Six Flags Mexico. Subsequently, that park ran into permitting issues with the local government. So when the Six Flags and Cedar Fair merger happened, the company decided to relocate that ride to Cedar Point. Now, to be clear, none of that stuff has been stated by the new Six Flags Corporation. But if it looks like a cigar and it smells like a cigar, it's probably a cigar.
Yeah, and Dennis Spiegel in the International Theme Park Services newsletter, he had something about this, and he had mentioned, those same properties that you did where this ride, was intended to go before landing at Cedar Point. It kind of, with the merger, it kind of brings up some different possibilities on what Six Flags can do. They can start exchanging rides, doing things like that instead of adding, brand new rides. They can take existing rides, give it to another park, looks like a new ride, just kind of like when Firehawk went to Kings Island several years ago. Dominator went to Kings Dominion, new for those parks, but not new rides. So that's something that, maybe there's a possibility of that happening down the road, but just a total surprise that Cedar Point was getting another roller coaster. It's third in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the ride rotation. I remember at a previous iteration of Six Flags in the early 2000s announced that was their plan, and then it never really come to fruition. And then, Cedar Fair did it with Firehawk and Dominator, as you mentioned. But my understanding is that the reason why ride rotation never really became a thing with major rides is because when it's all tallied up, it costs about the same to put in a new ride at that point.
It does, right? And then you got to, eventually replace what you took out at another park.
Right. Well, and on top of that, it's like you're saving money on steel and stuff like that. And the price of steel is very expensive, and it's much more than it was 25 years ago when they originally attempted this. But you have the added cost of tearing it down very meticulously, making sure that everything is shipped very meticulously, everything's labeled, and certain things, like, for example, the control system, most certainly aren't going with the ride. That's probably going to be installed new. I mean, we know, one of the reasons why the Vortex's fate was the Wrecking Ball was it needed a new control system, and it was going to be millions of dollars. So I don't think that a ride rotation is going to be a big part of it. I think that maybe with flats or something.
Just a possibility, and I think it'd be more of the flat rides that you see that happen. But I mean, it was just kind of, it was out of left field. They had given about a 7 to 10 day notice that they were going to have an announcement last Thursday, which was the, September 19th. And just everybody, whether it was social media, news media, everybody just kind of blown away because nobody saw this coming.
Yeah. So Siren's Curse draws on the inspiration from the haunting legends of Lake Erie, where sirens are said to have lured sailors to their watery graves with their melodic calls. Now, those same creatures will surface and challenge guests to escape a terrifying 2-minute ordeal of innovative coaster thrills. Now, the images and stuff don't have a lot of theming, but I have a feeling that this render was made pretty darn quickly because of the reasons listed above. So maybe
Right.
they'll have some cool stuff with it. I mean, Cedar Point usually does pretty well with theming, at least in the last 10 or so years they have. You know?
Yeah, they have. I'm sure the station, the entrance, that'll all be themed out pretty well. With it, the experience on this ride, Siren's Curse, it's going to begin as riders climb 160 feet up an old Lake Erie shipping crane, where the sirens' chilling melodies echo through the air.
Yeah, at its peak, the train comes to a dead stop on a precarious, broken section of the track. From there, the real terror begins. The platform holding the train slowly tilts until it's completely vertical, forcing riders to stare straight down, hoping the track will reconnect below. And boy, do we hope the track reconnects
You know
below.
what? I mean, there is, it does have that, terrifying element, for a lot of guests. This is not going to be your normal roller coaster ride, at Cedar Point or any park, really, the way this is done, where it tilts like that. Just imagine, being in the front of the train when that happens, or the back of the train when that happens. I mean, it's going to be a totally unique experience.
Yeah, and it's now the tilt coaster, there is one in Taiwan or Hong Kong, I'm sorry. Um and then it got reintroduced 2 years ago. The Vekoma made a big deal about it at IAPA. And I remember you and I visited the Vekoma booth,
Hmm.
and we were like, all right, so how do they not fall off this? And they were like, oh, it's got 3 different safety mechanisms and stuff. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of naysayers out there. I won't ride that because what if the power goes out or something? They've thought about all that stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
I think Vekoma has a really good safety record, so I don't think there's going to be any problem there. But I mean, it's you know definitely going to enhance the thrill the way this is done. It's not like Valraven where you reach the top, you kind of hang there for a couple of seconds, and then you drop. I mean, it's different. I mean, you're kind of being tilted up and then down. So I'm looking forward to riding it.
Now, a lot of people online have made the call out that it's weird that it's next to Valraven because they're similar gimmicks. I think you and I would notice that, but do you think the average guest would, or do you think that they're different enough from a visual standpoint that a guest wouldn't think
I
that it's
think
too
they're
close?
going to be different enough from a visual aspect that you know the majority of the park guests won't notice that. Now, yeah, the experienced park goers like you, me, and a lot of the roller coaster enthusiasts, yeah, they're going to notice that it's right next to another coaster that has that same kind of drop element to it. I I like the location of it though. I think that space there will work nicely. They're going to have to move that stage that
Yeah,
was there next to Iron Dragon, so they're going to have to relocate that. But I think they're going to have to knock out some of that back area and kind of go out more toward the road and everything there toward the reroute it a little bit back where those dorms were.
yeah, it's the
So
cedars or whatever they were, the ones that were like
yeah,
100 and something years old.
yeah. So they're going to have to do a little bit of reconfiguring there in terms of where it's going. But um, you look in that area, you got Valraven. It's going to be right there. Then you've got this. You've got Iron Dragon. Then just ahead, you've got Millennium Force. Not too far away. So you got some pretty good hardware. Within close proximity of each other.
Yeah, so once the track locks into place, the plunge begins, sending riders careening through nearly 3,000 feet of twisted track at a top speed of 58 miles an hour. Now, here's the thing with this ride, the low hanging fruit is it's a one trick pony. It's 3,000 feet long. It's not a short ride. That's something that
No,
I
it's
really
not.
like about it.
It's not. And the 58 miles per hour, that's really good speed. For it's not Millennium Force speed, but it's still really good speed. And I I think everything is in place with this one that it'll rank among the top 3 4 coasters for everybody at Cedar Point. They got an impressive lineup as we've talked about many times. I mean, you got Millennium Force, you got Steel Vengeance, you got Maverick, Magnum XL200 is still a fantastic ride. So there's a lot of really good roller coasters there at Cedar Point, and I think it complements the lineup well because it's different enough from
Mhm.
Valraven that I think it's a great addition for them.
I want to make a bold prediction right now, and I'll explain why. I think that there is a 70% chance that this will be best new ride 2025. The other 30% would be something at Epic Universe. The reason why I think this has such a great job, aside from the fact that it looks awesome, but I think that between the 1-2 punch of this and Top Thrill 2, which a lot of enthusiasts have not gotten to ride yet, it's going to draw so many people to Cedar Point next year that a lot of people are going to have it fresh in their mind when it comes to voting for golden tickets next year.
They will, and you make a good point. You talk about Epic Universe for best new ride. That's in a lot of ways flying under the radar because you see a lot of King's Dominion's doing it's going to be the best new ride. What Canada's Wonderland doing? It's going to be the best new ride. Hey, that ride in Chicago, Six Flags Great America, that could be the best new ride. Everyone's talking about those. But yeah, I think this one will be a bona fide candidate for the best new ride. I think some of those rides at Epic Universe will be right up there too. And I think between these two, it's going to take votes away from a lot of those other rides.
Yeah, well, the reason normally I would say that Epic Universe would probably win it, but the Florida parks don't get as much attention with the golden tickets in a lot of cases. And I think that access to Epic Universe may be an issue for a lot of people. I think there's going to be a lot of sellout days and stuff. While Cedar Point isn't going to have that kind of problem, but
no, they'll be candidates for a lot of those innovation type awards.
I think so too. Now, that's not to say the one in Canada, great ride. The one at King's Dominion is going to be terribly underrated because that's going to be an amazing ride. But this one has the visual appeal, and you're also going to finally get to ride Top Thrill 2, hopefully. And I think that's what's going to take it. But
Siren's Curse, though. I mean, you're talking about, it's different enough from Valraven, but you got 13 airtime moments, 2 360-degree zero gravity barrel rolls, and a thrilling triple down element. This coaster's immersive design includes integrated audio and LED lighting on each of its 2 24-passenger trains. So there's a lot to like about this coaster.
Oh yeah, and we don't know anything about the audio. They haven't promoted what it's going to look like at night. That's going to be incredible. If it's going to be like like the Star Chasers and stuff at Epic, with what they're testing with that.
Right.
Rip Ride Rocket is kind of similar with that. It's the ride's kind of dumb, but the visual is amazing. This is going to be really, really cool with that. So it's going to be located near Iron Dragon in the Cedar Point Marina, promising an intense and compact layout. So this will be essentially unoccupied land from a theme park standpoint because it was I know those are Cedar dorms were here. They're relocating the road. Wasn't there like an HR building or something that they tore down a year or two ago?
Yeah, there's something in that
they
area.
Moved it to like the old Chevron station or something off the peninsula.
Right. Now on the park side, behind that sound booth across from the stage, I mean, it's just just concrete. Sometimes you'd see a food truck or something in there, but just a lot of concrete. So I think they're going to make good use of that space. I think another thing that I like about this, if you're someone that likes photographing rides, the location of this I think is going to lend itself to getting some great photos, like Valraven does, like Maverick does. So I think there's some great photo opportunities there as well. Very excited, for Cedar Point and the Cedar Point pass holders. Everyone keeps saying Cedar Point keeps getting all the coasters. Well, there's obviously a reason for that they keep getting them, but this really adds to their lineup. It gives them 19 roller coasters. And I know there's out there that say you can't count Pipe Scream. Well, you can count Pipe Scream because the manufacturer does. That's why Cedar Point calls it a roller coaster. Then they'll say, well, the roller coaster database does not call it. Well, it's still the manufacturer calls it a roller coaster. Cedar Point's calling it a roller coaster. So the number is 19. You can debate it all you want, but Cedar Point has 19 roller coasters.
Now, let me pause there. I would recommend seeing how this whole thing with Top Thrill 2 unwinds before you take Zamperla's opinion as to what's a coaster and what's not. That was a joke. That was a joke. I know. That was a joke.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, we've talked about it before. Zamperla, I mean, it's a prototype ride. You could expect some issues, maybe, obviously not to the degree that they've had, with it, but hopefully, and Cedar Point sounds optimistic that those problems will be resolved and you'll have that ride next year for guests to enjoy, as well as Siren's Curse. Then you add those two to beloved favorites, Millennium Force, Steel Vengeance, Maverick. We mentioned Magnum XL 200. I mean, the thrills never stop at Cedar Point.
Yeah, they certainly do. So in 2025, Thrill Seekers will have not just Siren's Curse, but also the highly anticipated Top Thrill 2, a triple launch strata coaster idle for the vast majority of 2024 to look forward to. Like I said, 1-2 punch. It's going to be two fantastic, innovative coasters that are, I mean, very few people have ridden. This keeps on saying that it's like the longest and tallest tilt coaster in North America. I think it's the first tilt coaster in North America. Jumping the gun a little bit because you can't really claim like Coda Land or whatever yet because it's not open. But we know a lot about the new Vekoma. We've experienced Big Bear, we've experienced Good Gravy, Snoopy Soapbox Racers, and so on. We know what kind of product that they have. And if you know much about the new Vekoma, then you should be really excited about this product.
And they make good hats too, right?
They make fantastic hats. They're comfortable, they're stylish. They let people know that you speak whatever they speak in the Netherlands.
I'm a big Vekoma fan. So when I saw that was the manufacturer, that got me even more excited about this ride.
You know what's the most exciting for me, and this was more so with Big Bear Mountain than this one, because I think that what I was hoping for has already kind of come true. Is Vekoma was blacklisted from the United States for a decade and a half. Finally, they built some little guys and stuff, the little family boomerangs or whatever, throughout the world. But they expanded in Europe and in Asia. And finally, Dollywood took the risk on them for a full-size coaster, Big Bear Mountain. And it's like, we've seen what they've gotten in other countries, but it took like a well-known American park to install it for the trend to kind of shift of, let's see what they have to offer. And their portfolio is so big and so complex and so neat and so innovative that's one of the things that I'm super excited about, because I wouldn't mind seeing more of these tilt coasters out there.
No, I wouldn't either. And here's a question for you, Ryan. Okay, you talked about this being a strong contender for best new ride next year. Top Thrill 2. There's been some discussion on social media. Does that count as a new ride next year, or is it in its second year? I look at it as, say you're a football player or a baseball player, and 8 games into the season you get hurt, you're out for the rest of the season. Well, that's your rookie season. The next year you're a second year major league player, you're a second year NFL player. So to me, I would not have it as a new ride, something in that category, because it was just on the inactive list most of the year, after opening. So I would not market that as a brand new ride next year.
Are you talking about to the public or as a general?
Everything. I think
like golden ticket.
A golden ticket. I would not put it on the ballot as a new ride. I would not, if I'm the park, I would not say new this year is Top Thrill 2. It was new last year. It just didn't work.
So, okay, if they weren't adding this, then I would say that although Top Thrill 2 played in 6 games last year. They were redshirt freshmen.
Yeah.
So,
eight,
so they
eight
still
games,
have 4 years of eligibility.
eight games. I think it opened. So to me, you can't, you know, keep rolling it out there every year if it only has a few operating days. I mean, it was open, and that was its window. The industry's moved on. There's a lot of other new rides out there next year.
Okay. If it were the other way around and it was this ride, I would say that this is what they did was a tragedy, and it got 8 days, and it got its flash in the pan, and now it's got to quietly open the next year, and so on. But Top Thrill 2 is not the same thing. I think that's
No.
big and innovative, and I think that that's going to have as much excitement behind it as it did last year, because nobody got to ride it.
It will. Now,
with
here's a question for you too. Since this ride doesn't look like it was intended for Cedar Point, but they got it, would you look at this as possibly, going in there as kind of an insurance policy in the event that Top Thrill 2 does not reopen next year?
I had the same thought. Is that a thing? You're the one who's worked in the industry. I
don't know.
This is like a Lloyd's of London, Tina Turner insuring her legs insurance policy.
I mean, the fact that this came out of nowhere, I mean, this could have gone to some other parks too. And it's going there. I mean, it kind of lends itself a little bit to that being one of the reasons. But the fact that they are optimistic about Top Thrill 2, that there continues to be a lot of work around that ride. You go to their Halloween weekends. I mean, it's a beehive of activity around it. So I think they're really working feverishly to make sure that it works next year, that it opens with the park. Now, this one they said summer of 2025. They're not saying it's going to open in the spring, with the park or anything like that. I think that's smart because you just don't know. I mean, you can have a terrible winter there, delays construction, so you never know. So I like the fact that they're saying summer. So if it opens earlier, if it opens in May with the park, that's kind of a bonus because no one was expecting that.
They're probably targeting Memorial Day weekend. That seems to be typical. Don, I have thoughts. All right. So the Top Thrill 2 thing. So a lot of me, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe they're not as confident as they're making it out to be, because why would you put this 15, 20, $25 million investment in Cedar Point when they already have a new ride for next year? And it's going to be Top Thrill 2. I understand that, like, the marketability and stuff, we discussed that a few minutes ago, but nobody got to ride it. Like I said, it's going to have the excitement. So that leads me back to wondering if this might be a distraction for if that doesn't open.
The insurance, the insurance policy, right? In case it doesn't open, you've got this. So, I mean, I can see that. But I do feel there is some optimism around Top Thrill 2 when they put this out announcing Siren's Curse. They did mention, that it would join Top Thrill 2 next year among the ride's attractions. So they were comfortable enough to put that out there.
They also said that it wouldn't be an all summer thing. And I, Tony said that on a radio show, and I don't think he was lying. I think that that's what they believed at the time. So, but the thing though is, it appears as though they run into problem after problem after problem. And maybe part of the insurance is we don't know if, we get brand new rebuilt trains or whatever, we start launching them, and then we find another problem, or find a problem with the track, or find a problem with
There's been a lot of track, the way they're looking at that, and doing all those different surveys and that with the tracks. So it's not just just a multitude of problems that they uncovered. And as they did test runs during the summer, 3:00 in the morning, those kind of things, hoping nobody would see it, that they uncovered more things, with it. But, we'll see. But back to this ride, a lot of reasons to be excited about it, even though some say that it's, too similar to Valraven, too close to Valraven. I think there's enough difference, with it, especially when you talk about those 13 airtime moments. I think that's going to, definitely separate the thrill between those two rides.
I would say that I don't want to go as far as saying that this doesn't need the tilt feature, because it would be very benign without it. But I think that this ride is not going to only be the tilt hill. I think that
No.
the rest of the ride is going to be a really cool experience. It's going to be fun to watch. There's going to be a huge upside to this, and it's going to be a real winner.
Yeah, like I said,
Um,
it's got a lot of great elements, in it. You get past the tilt portion of it, the rest of the ride, I mean, there's a lot going on. A lot of cool elements. I talked about the airtime moments. You got good speed, almost 60 miles per hour. So there's a lot to really like about this coaster past the tilting element.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we'll have to see how this unravels. I look forward to, I wanted to go to Cedar Point. I didn't end up going because Top Thrill 2 wasn't going to open, and I particularly wanted to go for Top Thrill 2. And I know there's a million other rides there that are great, but I've ridden all of them, and I have not ridden Top Thrill 2. This definitely puts me over the edge of, all right, now I got to get the all park passport and make it out there. It'll be interesting to see, since it's 2 trains, if the capacity isn't crazy good. Is this going to be a one pass through thing with fast lane like Top Thrill 2 is supposed to be? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, it does. But I think that, you mentioned you now have a reason to get the all park passport. It's a reason for me to renew with the all park passport. I did go to Cedar Point this summer. I, you know, was hoping to ride Top Thrill 2 like everyone else.
Mhm.
But for me, there's just a lot of things about Cedar Point, beyond the coasters. They've got a great roller coaster lineup, but I always thought their flat ride collection was a lot of fun. I could go there, not ride a roller coaster, but ride some of the other things there. The train, I think, is one of the best train rides in the industry. The culinary experience, is really good there. I'd like to see more people talking about that. The farmhouse food is outstanding. The pavilion, you know, food's amazing. The portion sizes, those chicken tenders, we talked about that. I mean, there's just a lot about Cedar Point that goes beyond the coasters that makes that a destination for me every year. So whether Top Thrill 2 was open, or not, yeah, sure, I would have loved to ride it, but that wasn't going to deter me in whether or not I visited the park this year.
Well, it clearly did for me, but you know what? They've got a ticket sold for next year for me, because especially if they get Top Thrill. I mean, if they don't get Top Thrill 2 open, I'll still go just for this because I'm very curious about this. But man, if they get Top Thrill 2 open and this, that's gonna be worth your price of admission. All
It'd
right.
almost be worth staying, 2 or 3 days there on property too, wouldn't it? To make sure that you get enough rides in on this, Top Thrill 2. You make sure you try enough of those different food offerings there. Some of the different events that they do, have been really good. The live entertainment there, is good. So there's a lot of reasons to visit Cedar Point, not
Oh
just
yeah.
for roller
To
coasters.
be clear, when I go to Cedar Point, I don't just go for it. Maybe that's something that I need to clarify. A lot of people like in this area will jet up to Cedar Point, like leave at 4 a.m, get there at open, stay all day, and drive back. When I do Cedar Point, it's like 3 days, and you stay at Breakers and you spend time on the beach. So when I do Cedar Point, right? So
You got to include a stay at, spend a night at the Thirsty Pony, eating some wings.
I try not to spend all night at the Thirsty Pony. That would be a little tragic, but they,
Some of the best wings I've had can be found at the Thirsty Pony.
yeah, and that's the cornerstone of 4 of your 6 food categories.
Yeah,
Chicken,
one of the
chicken
finest,
wings, chicken.
one of the finest dining establishments you're going to find in Sandusky, Ohio. The Thirsty Pony.
Yeah, for the people that are local to like the greater Cincinnati and a little bit beyond, the Thirsty Pony is kind of the Jeff Ruby's of Sandusky.
Yeah, right. No,
All right.
it's something. It's just something that's the atmosphere can be kind of cool, depending on when you go. Especially at night, it can be kind of cool. But the the food, the burgers. They got this barbecue bacon cheeseburger. I mean, that's really good. The wings. So yeah, no trip for me to Sandusky to Cedar Point is complete without a stop at the Thirsty Pony.
You ever been to Chet and Matt's?
No.
It's a pizza. You got to go there. It's in the city. I think it's off Perkins Avenue, if I recall correctly. But it's a pizza place. Their pizza is like, it's very good. It's an 8 or 9 out of 10. But their cheesy bread is so freaking good. Oh my god! Next time I'm just gonna order the cheesy bread.
I know there's a number of good pizza places in Sandusky. There's a couple that I've gone to, but not that one. I'll have to now check that out.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a trip up there together at some point, and I'll show you.
You can
all
drive. You can drive since I can't see. So
you know what's funny? Way. I've never driven to Cedar Point in my life. I've been there probably 15 or so times. I've never driven there. And it used to be like just by happenstance, like my friends are going, I ride with them or whatever. But recently, since I go with Aaron, our agreement to split up the driving is when we go to Dollywood, I drive. When we go to Cedar Point, she drives because she doesn't feel comfortable driving to Dollywood since it's through the mountains and stuff. But it's about the same distance. It's about 4 hours either way for us.
Yeah.
So I've actually never driven to Cedar Point before, but all right, enough of this. Stick around. We got the pick six coming up next.